Today is Thursday, March the 10th, 2016, and the location of the interview is the Veterans Center, Walla Walla, Washington. I am interviewing Leo Becker, B-E-C-K-E-R, a World War II veteran who served from 1942 through 1946 in the United States Navy. Leo left the service as a boatswain mate. Am I saying that right? Boatswain mate. All right. And he was born September the 19th, 1923. Dixie Ferguson and Vic Phillips, the videographer, are conducting the interview. We represent the Blue Mountain chapter of the American Red Cross. So once again, Leo, if you will state the war and the branch of service that you served. The war?
What?
Yeah, just state the war and the branch of service you served.
I was in the Armed Guard in the U.S. Navy.
In World War II?
In World War II.
Yes, okay. And once again, where did you serve?
I served mostly in the South Pacific, but both sides.
Atlantic and Pacific?
Yeah. We all lent lease to Russia, but we didn't go through the White Sea. We went through the Suez, went through the Suez Canal. And
okay, we'll get into all that during your story.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll find out about that. And were you drafted or did you enlist?
I enlisted.
You did. Where were you living?
I was living in Everett.
Everett, Washington?
Yeah.
And can you tell me a little bit about your family, how many, and how you got to Everett?
Yeah. We were born and raised during the Depression. There was, I think there were 6 of us during the Depression.
6 kids?
Yeah. But in the latter years we had more.
Yeah.
And we were all born and raised in Minnesota.
Okay, you started out in Minnesota.
Yeah.
And why did you move to Washington?
That was when the war broke out. We went to war plants.
War plants?
Yeah.
What kind of a plant was it in Seattle?
My dad worked in a sawmill.
Sawmill?
Yeah.
Big lumbering in the Northwest then?
Yeah.
Okay, so you went from Minnesota to the Seattle area, Everett.
Yeah.
And eventually, how large was your family? Your siblings, brothers and sisters?
Yeah.
How many? How many?
There was altogether. There was 12 of us. 13 died. There was 13, but one passed away at childbirth.
At childbirth, yes. And did you say you were kind of in the middle?
Yeah, I was the 5th one.
5th one. And Leo, tell me about your older brothers serving. Could you tell about that?
My older brother, Don, he served in the Seabees in the Navy.
Okay. In World War II?
In World War II, yeah.
Okay. And then the next brother?
My brother Gordon, he served in Europe mostly.
In the Army or?
The Army, yeah, he was the Army.
Okay.
And Richard, he was in the Army, and he was in the 3rd Army in Sicily. And he got wounded there and was sent home.
Okay, stop right there. He was wounded in Sicily?
Yeah.
How was he wounded?
A mental breakdown because he hit a landmine.
Oh my. So he was sent, was he discharged?
Yeah,
medical discharge?
Yeah.
Oh my. And then the next brother?
Jim, no, that was me.
Yeah.
I served in both sides. I was joined the Navy, and when I was Navy, they sent me to Armed Guard School.
Okay, we'll get into that in a minute. And then I was just going to find out about your brothers. And the next brother served also?
My next brother was Jim, and he was in Air Troopers.
Air Troopers in Europe?
Yeah, and he got wounded in I think he said he was wounded, shot in the air. I'm not too sure, but
Uh-huh.
and that was the end of his war.
Yeah.
And he was sent back home. And
He was medically discharged.
no,
No. Oh.
no, he stayed throughout.
Oh, he did.
Yeah,
Okay.
till he got discharged. Yeah.
Okay. So altogether, 6 brothers served in
Yeah.
the war.
Yeah. See, then Earl was the 6th one served in the war.
And where did he serve?
He served in the beginning at the end of World War II. He just made it over. I think the peace treaty was being signed, but then he served in Korea throughout.
Korea.
He was wounded twice in Korea.
My goodness. And what happened? Was he discharged or what happened?
No, he served 20 years.
20 years.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see. Did you say there were 11 10 boys and 1 girl?
No, yeah.
Was there, okay, I lost track. Is there another brother that served?
Well, he served in the Korean War, but he didn't go overseas.
Okay.
Brother Bob.
Bob. Okay, let's see. I lost track. Is there another brother?
He was after my sister joined the Navy in Korean War.
Your sister did?
Yeah, she was a nurse in Korea.
My goodness.
And she got discharged.
All of your family served in the military.
Yeah, and the last brother was my youngest brother. Well, Dwayne, he served in Europe. He was in occupied Europe right after the war.
In the Army?
Yeah, in Germany. He was in occupied Germany.
Okay.
See, World War II was over then.
Yes.
And
okay.
then after Dwayne, it was Ted, my youngest brother.
Okay.
And he served for a short time in the Korean War, but he didn't get to Korea.
He did not. Okay.
No.
That's the family then. That's
Well, I forgot to mention Bob. That was after Earl. Bob, he was in the Air Force.
Air Force.
Yeah, during the Korean invasion, but he never made it overseas.
Okay. Why did all of your family serve in the military?
I don't know. There was nothing else for us to do.
Yeah, I understand. Are you saying that...
I was born in the Depression. I joined the military because there was no work. There was work after the war,
right.
but I didn't care for it, so I joined up.
Understood. That was probably pretty common, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Because people were very poor, no jobs, no food on the table, and then a large family. How did your mother stay at home?
Yeah.
What can you describe your mother? What was she like?
She was well, she was strict in a way, but you know, boys ain't exactly perfect in life.
And what?
Boys ain't exactly perfect. And my dad, he never laid a hand on us.
Should he?
She ruled the roost.
Should he have laid a hand on? Is that what you're saying?
My dad never laid a hand.
But should he have?
Mother used it.
She took charge.
The slapping.
Oh, God. I mean...
And she made sure we all went to church.
Did she?
Yeah.
Was your dad a religious man?
Not really, but he wasn't one that would swear and cuss a lot or drank. But
again, I'm fascinated with your mother. What she went through, hard times, and just made ends meet. Sounds like she was a very strong woman.
Yeah, about like the rest of us.
Yeah, strong religious woman, would you say? Was that her background, religious background? Yeah. Just one more question. How did your mom and dad meet? Was it in school or church? Do you remember?
What's that?
How they met? Was it in church or school?
That I don't know. They lived in the same area in Minnesota.
Uh-huh.
And my dad inherited Sawmill from his dad, and they got married there in Osage, Minnesota.
Osage, Minnesota. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, it's a fascinating beginning,
Yeah.
Leo. Well, getting back to you then, so because there just wasn't much going on and your brothers had joined, that was an
Yeah.
obvious choice to enlist. Yeah. Why did you choose the Navy?
What?
Why did you choose the Navy?
Because I didn't like the idea of watching on TV crawling on my belly.
Well, that's a good reason.
Yeah.
Where did you train?
I trained at Great Lakes.
Great Lakes, uh-huh. Do you remember any of your training? Did you call it boot camp?
Well, no, boot camp training was, you learned all about the Navy.
Uh-huh.
And you did a lot of marching and drilling.
Right.
Mostly that was a training for respect your senior officers.
Exactly. Did you train any place else?
No, I went to school, an armed guard school in San Diego.
Naval Training Center?
It was a destroyer base.
Okay.
And they had schools there. Went to armed guard school.
Okay.
Armed guard, you learned how to fight with guns and learned all about guns and ammunition.
What do you mean by armed guard? What was your position going to be?
We were armed guard. We were armed aboard ships.
All kinds of ships?
Yeah, U.S. freighters,
What
cargo
kind?
ships.
Freighters and
Yeah.
cargos.
U.S. They were merchant marine ships.
Were they carrying ammunition?
Yeah, everything.
Everything.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mainly war materials or everything?
yeah, everything.
Everything.
Yeah,
Okay, so how long, you must have loved San Diego.
we liked San Diego, yeah, while I was there. Yeah,
Were you ever homesick?
that I don't know. We were kids. We lived outdoors most of the time in the Depression. So
Yeah. Did you work at a really early age, Leo, at home?
there was no work at home in the Depression.
Yeah. How far did you graduate from high school?
I went to the first year in high school. Then I joined the Navy.
Yeah. So did you get a waiver? You must have been, what, about 15, 16?
70.
17, okay.
That's when Roosevelt got president, and he released the bill that if you were 70, you could join the service because all the young people were out of work, no work any place.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Wow, hard times, yeah.
Yeah.
How did your parents keep food on the table?
That was a blessing and behold, anyway.
Yeah, really, for sure. Well, let's see, what month was this after Pearl Harbor? Well, of course it was 42. Do you remember Pearl Harbor?
Yeah,
Do you remember it well?
when Pearl Harbor was bombed, I was in boot camp,
Oh,
and somebody said Pearl Harbor is bombed. Well, they didn't move boot camp. There was 120. Just where's Pearl Harbor? They didn't know where
Yeah.
Pearl Harbor was.
yeah, sure.
One guy says the Hawaiian Islands. Where's the Hawaiian Islands?
Sure, absolutely. Way far away.
Yeah. In the early days, you never had that communication like they have today.
You're so right. And I have a feeling you found out where Hawaii was.
Yeah, I found out.
I bet you did. Well, okay, so you got the, were you liking boot camp, basic training? Were you liking it?
Well, I don't think too many like basic training.
You know, right. You don't get to do what you want to do. Okay, so now you're assigned to a ship. You don't call them boats,
Yeah.
you call them ships, right?
Yeah,
Ships. Well, do you remember your first ship?
yeah, it was USS John B. Ash. It was a merchant ship,
And the name of it?
Ash.
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 Okay.
And we sailed to Pearl Harbor. We had a load of beer and toilet paper and ammunition.
Everything you need.
Yeah. And the bombing of Pearl Harbor, we couldn't get into Pearl Harbor, so we had to stop uptown and unload.
Did you see it?
No, I never went near Pearl Harbor.
You never saw it?
We unloaded uptown in Honolulu.
Yeah. Did you stay there for very long?
No, just as long as the ship got unloaded.
Okay. So you don't remember what it looked like, the rumors, the
Afterwards,
buzz?
I did the next trip.
When was that?
That's when they were cleaning it up.
Was that like a year or so?
Yeah, not quite. No, we sailed back to the United States and reloaded. We stopped there, and while we were waiting, they needed help up in Pearl Harbor, so I went up, helped clean it up, or try to.
Clean up.
Just a short time we were anchored there.
So you did help a little bit with the
Yeah.
cleanup. What did you see, Leo?
Well, I don't know. It's just amazing, what you do. You realize it took less time to clean Pearl Harbor up than it did the tower in Seattle. I mean, in
New York.
in New York.
Is that right?
Pearl Harbor was cleaned up quite a bit quicker.
Is that right? Wow. Well, so you kind of were part of history and being kind of a
Yeah, I was-
hands-on in cleaning that up.
Yeah, I was aboard. Went aboard ships. I helped pump them out of water.
I'll say that again.
How to pump them out of water.
Oh,
In the beginning of the war, America didn't have many pumps. It was shortage of everything.
pumps for what?
A pump to pump a ship out.
Pump a ship out of water?
Yeah,
Oh.
but you can believe this or not, you know how we got the water out of them? We siphoned them out. We had a pump. We pumped the water into the tube, and then we disconnected underwater, and it flowed out. So they just took the pump to the next ship, all the apartments, and pumped it out that way.
Okay, I want to be really clear what I heard. So they just siphoned the water out, and
My
they just
job-
came up.
My job was waited around down below, and there were clothes floating around. It'd get in the end of the pipe, and it'd stop the suction, so I had to pull it out. A lot of people run on bodies, but I never did, thank God.
No kidding. And they remained there at the Arizona, didn't they? Are
Yeah.
they supposedly still there?
What's that?
The bodies in the Arizona,
Yeah,
they're still submerged?
yeah, the reason I understand, on the Arizona that morning, they had a Catholic church, and on the Arizona, and they were all taking them to that Catholic church.
Wow.
And they said there was over 1,500 extra people in church that morning.
On ship?
Yeah, so when it sunk, it just hit the bottom, and it was so bad that they decided not to even try to retrieve it,
I see.
because it was too many people and everything's gone.
Oh, I never heard that story.
Well, that's what I understand that morning.
Interesting. Did you ever remember talking to very many people who witnessed the bombing?
No, I never did.
Yeah.
People are quiet about that.
Exactly. Yeah, that's true. So your assignment was protecting ships going back and forth on
Yeah.
the Pacific during the
Good.
war.
Against the submarines and attacks.
Were there ever any incidents, Leo?
No, there was no incidents. When there was an invasion, we anchored out and unloaded out, and they hauled a ship on next to the invasion. Like in Tinian,
Yeah.
we anchored out in Tinian, and there was a barge come alongside, and the coxswain running the barge got sick, and they asked for a volunteer.
The what?
I volunteered.
Say again, what happened?
We loaded a landing barge
Uh-huh.
from Tinian,
Yeah.
and it come alongside. And the guy operating it got sick, and they asked for a volunteer. I'm stupid, I volunteered.
To do, what did you do to volunteer? What did you do?
Made it run the landing barge, and it got sunk in Tinian.
Were you off of it when it sunk?
I was off it real quick because I got blowed off. So I don't remember nothing more because it.
Well, do you know what I mean when I say you're very understated? You say things that are worth the story, and it's well. Okay, let's get back to you taking over.
But that's all I remember. I don't remember nothing else.
Okay, Leo.
I don't even know how I got back to ship.
Leo, you took over, and you guys were hit.
Yeah.
And you were knocked out.
Yeah, I wasn't even assigned to it.
How were you rescued?
That I don't know.
Were you brought back to the other ship?
Yeah. I got back aboard. When I woke up, I was looking around here. I was aboard ship like it was a bad dream.
Did you ever see the damage that was done?
No.
And where you went was a cargo ship unloading on Tinian. What were they unloading?
What?
Do you remember what they were unloading?
Pontoons.
Pontoons. Wow. Did you ever get onto Tinian to see it?
No, I never made.
Yeah.
I don't know how close I got to Tinian even.
Yeah. Was that just a one-time experience there?
Yeah, there was a between. Was it Iwo Jima or
Marshalsea. What would
next to Tinian? Anyway, there's a channel between the two.
Okay.
We were heading up the channel, and that's as far as I can remember.
Saipan?
Saipan, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and there's a channel between Tinian and Saipan.
Okay.
It was another island by itself.
Okay.
And the Japanese had a big air force there, and so did the Americans build an air force.
Uh-huh. Yeah, and did you ever get to Iwo Jima?
Iwo Jima, no.
No, I didn't get there. Because Tinian became a big base.
Yeah, that's where they flew off the.
The Enola Gay.
Yeah.
Yes. So, were you making a lot of trips between the U.S. and the South Pacific?
Yeah, I made one to Guam.
Yeah.
And made one to Russell Islands.
Russell Island?
Yeah.
Never heard of it. Uh-huh.
Well, that's next to Guam.
Uh-huh.
And I went to the Straits of Gibraltar and hauled Lease to Russia. And after that, we went around to Cape Town, South Africa.
Well, I'm going to stop you for just a minute in the South Pacific.
Yeah.
How long were you in the South Pacific?
Oh, about 2 years.
2 years?
Yeah.
From about, what, 42 to 44?
Yeah.
Kind of in that time frame?
Yeah.
So the war was in full force while you were going. Did you ever see enemy?
We hauled supplies to the war.
Yeah, that's a huge deal, Leo.
Yeah.
So, did you ever see any enemy planes?
Oh, yeah.
Can you describe that?
Well, no, they didn't bother us, so.
Why wouldn't they?
That I don't know. We didn't look that important, I guess.
Well, you were. You had the supplies.
Yeah.
How close did you get to Japan during the war?
I got close right to Japan.
You did go to Japan?
Yeah.
Did you go into the bay when the...
Yeah, I went to Japan right after the war. Believe this or not, this is Wainwright. General Wainwright was out of the prison then. And I was an armed guard aboard a destroyer to pick him up.
And did you?
Guard. We picked him up at Sasebo, and we hauled him back to the Missouri.
You saw him?
But I saw him at a distance because, you know, there was close to about 50, 60 armed guard, and I was just a little wheel.
Yeah. Oh, that's interesting.
But that's about all.
That's a big deal, Leo.
Yeah.
So you went in to get him and others out of the Japanese prisons? Wow.
I wasn't even assigned to the ship. They just put me aboard as a guard.
Yeah.
Because they got the word armed guard, they figured that was a big deal.
Yeah. Well, what did you see? Do you have any memories of this occasion?
No, I remember when we were at Guadalcanal, the Japanese, we went to Guadalcanal because the Navy had pulled out of there, all the ships out of there, and left Guadalcanal with just about nothing.
Yeah.
And we went in there with supplies like medical supplies. And we were one of the very first ships because when Admiral, Connolly, the fleet pulled out of there, he only left a few ships at Guadalcanal. Near Guadalcanal was running short of everything in the early days. And I can remember up the river they had a Japanese Banzai attack, but I never got close to it.
You probably heard the stories.
I wasn't close enough, but they come down the river. But we unloaded and got the hell out of there. But the funny part I'll never forget, there was an old Marine sergeant standing on the pier directing the unloading. And I looked up at him and I said, "How long you been on this island?" He says, "Well, let's put it this way." He says, "When I came here, Jesus was mess cooking." And that's a true story. I never forget it.
They do, the military they have their humor.
Yeah. And another thing, I got to respect the American Marines at that time, or the American people, for their ingenuity. The Japanese sabotaged their light plant so they didn't have no lights. But
I'm sorry, sabotaged what?
The light plant. The Japanese had a little light plant. They lit up fuel.
I'm sorry, what kind of plant?
The light.
L-I-G-H-T.
Delco plant.
Chemical plant?
What?
I'm not hearing the word. What kind of a plant?
Delco, light plant.
Delco
Charged
plant?
electricity.
Okay, gotcha.
Anyway, they took the inserts out of the valve stem. A little insert, a little thing that holds the spring and the washer down. They took that insert out and threw it away. And the American Marines, they took hardware from the forks and knives and made inserts and put in there and started it up.
It's amazing.
I mean, that was kind of a fantastic little deal to make.
Amazing.
But that American ingenuity.
So look, the can-do spirit.
Yeah.
We're a great country.
Yeah.
Did you spend any time with the Marines much?
Oh yeah, we hauled them to Russell Island.
Well, I'm sorry, what island?
The Russell Islands
Russell
from
Island.
Guam.
I heard of those. Okay.
See, when the Japanese left Guam, they disappeared. There's lots of Japanese soldiers there. They disappeared overnight, and they thought they went to the next island.
I see.
So we loaded up with Marines aboard this merchant ship, hauled them to Russell Island. There was no Jap.
No, oh, interesting. But you didn't know. Do you remember if they stayed there very long?
No, we didn't stay there long. I think we loaded some more pontoons there.
Yeah, pontoons. Can you explain, I think I know, but can you explain what a pontoon is for?
It's a pontoon's a floating square for making piers and docks and barges.
Oh, sure. Oh, sure. Okay. Very important. Okay, when you dock them, then you load things on them? Or how does that work? Is that what it is?
There was little squares, and then they bolted them together, and it made a barge.
Gotcha.
Or a pier for a ship to land.
I see. Very interesting. You had, we haven't even gotten to the Atlantic yet, but the experiences you had in the Pacific, Leo.
Yeah.
So when you went into Japan, do you remember what you saw?
I saw how much the village are all leveled out and even. One amazing thing I did see, there was a 1400 pier, building on a pier, built on a pier like a warehouse, and it caught fire. The end of it was burning, and there was no way because the water was still water, hardly any water. they called the Japanese fire department. And the amazing thing I seen was the Japanese, they licked dynamite and they cut the warehouse in half with dynamite, burnt that half down, saved the other half.
Oh my gosh.
They blew that dynamite, blew it right in half.
Oh my gosh.
I never seen that, never seen it to this day happen.
Yeah, never heard of such a thing.
But you got to give the Japanese credit, they had a little ingenuity too.
Yeah, you're right, Leo.
Yeah.
Did you see, where were you when Hiroshima was bombed? Where were you?
I was on Pickaduty, outside, on the other side of,
What kind
on
of
a
duty?
destroyer on Pickaduty. Pickaduty, you know, is you put a ship out between Tinian and Japan to pick up the survivors from,
Pick up duty?
yeah, they call it Pickaduty. And that's a destroyer, we're out there supposed to pick up people that didn't make it back from Japan.
Okay, I just wanted to be sure for the video, I wanted to spell that so it'll be clear. P-I-C-K,
Yeah,
U-P, pick up, or
yeah, Pickaduty, not pick up, picket,
P-I-C-K-I-T,
yeah,
picket, all one word?
picket, yeah,
Picket.
yeah,
Have you heard of
Pickaduty.
that, Vic? Picket.
They called it Pickaduty, you know, because you ship out there picking up survivors.
Oh, picket. Pick it up. Pick
Yeah,
it up.
just pick it.
Okay. Piccadilly, and I'm sorry again, and for
We
the
didn't-
most part it was big picking up bodies.
Huh?
What were you picking up?
We're picking up the flyers that didn't make it back.
Oh.
And we never picked up any, but there was a submarine that picked them up.
Uh-huh.
And they transferred over the board ship where I was on.
Oh. So it was men shot down at sea.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
like when they bombed Pearl Harbor,
Yeah,
they tried to make it back.
gotcha.
There were
Oh.
several of them lost.
So the submarines would try and pick them up and bring them over to you.
Well, they brought them to everybody that
Yeah.
was on duty at that time.
Leo, this is a hard question, but what did you do with the flyers once you had received them? What did you do with
We
them?
just kept brought them aboard ship. The doctor put them through the doctor. That's all. I don't remember
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Would you?
But one thing I remember that was good about it, when you had a flyer aboard ship, a pilot, when they took him back to the base, we held him for ransom. We got ice cream for the flyer. Those are the days.
This is rich.
That's what happened. We held him for ransom.
You were ingenious too.
Huh?
You were very clever too.
Yeah. Well, those things you probably never happened because they were little simple things aboard ship. But I can remember them because it's something good for me.
Well, these are stories I have not heard. They're wonderful stories, little stories, the
Yeah.
day to day going on.
Yeah.
In wartime is very interesting.
Yeah.
But it's amazing how much you remember.
Well,
You
I
know-
don't remember a lot of things. I don't remember the accident. I don't remember nothing.
You were just
In fact,
blacked
right
out.
to this
huh?
day, I don't remember any people aboard ship. I lost all that memory.
Well, that would be
Uh,
Go ahead. Well, that would be understood, Leo. You
Yeah.
probably just blacked out, and it's a part of your
Yeah.
brain that just shut down.
I remember the atomic bomb test and the hydrogen test after the war.
Would you describe that?
What, hydrogen test?
Yeah, describe what you saw.
That was in, that was
The martial
Bikini.
Bikini.
That was in 46.
Right. Were you still over there?
I was over there, yeah.
Did you see
I
this?
volunteered because you get extra pay for it.
Did you actually see the testing?
Well, we were quite a ways away, but we sneaked to look. We're not supposed to look.
Yeah.
They didn't have enough colored glasses to go around, so we had to look through beer bottles. But the tan part, because they say the light would hurt your eyes.
What did you see?
You don't hear the explosion. You hear a flash of lightning first, because light travels faster than noise, then you hear the thunder.
How far away were you?
Oh, I don't remember.
Hundreds of
We were
miles?
quite a ways away.
You'd have to be, right?
Yeah. And we were supposed to get a tide from the bomb test, but we only got a 5-foot wave
Yeah.
at that time.
Was it kind of scary in a way because it was something so new and powerful?
Oh, it was there, yeah.
Kind of scary, not knowing?
Yeah.
Because you already knew what
Yeah.
happened to Japan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was explaining to me the reason the atomic bomb goes up in the air, it explodes 3-4 times. At time, first time it explodes, you see a big blue ball of flames. Then it goes up a little bit and explodes again. The reason for that is when it explodes, it sucks all the oxygen out of the air.
Mm.
Then when it goes up a little higher, it sucks more oxygen and it explodes again. Then when it gets so high, there's no oxygen, so it's a big mushroom.
Oh, interesting.
If there was oxygen, it'd explode too.
Interesting. Very interesting.
That's what it was said to me, but I
Makes
don't know
sense.
if it's true or not.
It makes sense. It does. How many of those explosions did you see, those tests? Did it go on for a while?
Yeah. Yeah, there was 3 of them,
3.
but I can't remember them because after the first one, after it went up, we got busy aboard ship and had to get underway because we had to go in.
I mean, Leo, the things that you saw, General Wainwright, the hydrogen testing, did you get on base, on land in Japan?
No.
Okay,
No.
you didn't see the villages
No,
or
no.
the after effects?
No, we were just there just as soon as they loaded them aboard.
Were there a number of POWs that you boarded or just General Wainwright?
Just Wainwright and his guards.
His guards, yeah. Did you get to see him at all?
Just a little bit, yeah.
Yeah, and here you are in Walla Walla, his
Yeah.
hometown.
Yeah.
Who would think? Well, let's see. Gosh, there's so many questions. So, after the bomb, after the atomic bomb, that was the end of the war. So do you remember?
That was the end of the war anyway then.
Yes.
It was almost 2 years old after the war.
Do you remember where you were when the Missouri, the signing of the peace? Where were you?
We were about, I was under destroyer and we had to leave the Missouri, we had to get away from, we laid off about 20 miles because they figured if there were ships around, the Japs might get together and bomb some more.
Right.
So we went near that.
So you got to see the U.S. Missouri
Oh,
where
yeah.
the peace treaty was signed.
Yeah, I seen the Missouri before that anyway.
Yeah, you got to see it several times.
Yeah,
What was that, a battleship?
yeah,
Battleship, yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Did you ever get to see it again? I think it's in, what,
No.
San Diego? Or
No.
you never saw it again?
No.
Yeah. What was your daily life like on the ship?
oh, we stand watch and cleaning.
Did you have to peel potatoes?
No, we had to learn the helm.
Oh.
We did that because merchant marine, if you did helm duty on the merchant marine or if I peeled spuds on the merchant marine, you got paid for it, merchant marine paid. Like on helm, I had to learn the helm because I wanted to learn it because I knew I wasn't going to be aboard ship, America merchant ship, so I had to learn it fast. That.
What does that mean, learning the helm?
That's the steering,
Oh, okay.
helm,
Basically steering.
quartermaster.
Yeah. Well, that's a big deal.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what kind of communication did you have out there? Like mail and radar, any radar, anything like that?
Armed guard, we never had any assignment to ships. We had a base in San Francisco where all our mail went to, and then we got it when we come back.
So you didn't get a whole bunch of mail?
No.
Yeah. Did your parents know where you were and what you
No.
were doing? No. Yeah.
They didn't know where any of us were.
Well, yeah. Let's see. At that time, how many brothers were in the service at that time?
6 in World War II.
At this, I just can't get over that. That's it. It reminds me of the 5 Sullivan Brothers.
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
Yeah, yeah. That happened. That happened in the same era. No, that was before we got there. But that was that admiral that it's his fault they all died in the water.
What happened?
What?
What happened?
The Japanese starred oh, I forgot the name of the ship, the Sullivan. Anyway, the ship sunk, and everybody was in the water, and I can't think of the. Anyway, the admiral was having a whole fleet pulled away from Guam because the end of the Coral Sea battle, and they went by that area, and one ship wanted to drop out, but the admiral aboard this group ship wouldn't allow it because he's afraid he'd get sunk to pick them up, so they didn't get picked up.
Oh. All of them drowned?
What?
All of them drowned?
No, there was several of them that didn't drown.
You know,
They said there was 800 alive in the water at one time.
My goodness. Your parents must have heard about that eventually and must have thought about all of your brothers.
Yeah, I thought about it because it had just happened prior to our being there.
Yes. Oh, of course. So that's another history making in the South Pacific.
Yeah.
How were your sleeping quarters?
They were pretty good.
Were they?
Aboard the merchant ship.
How big was a merchant ship?
What?
How big was it?
Oh, a regular freighter.
Freighter?
They're about 400 feet long.
How many on board?
There was 26 armed guard and 75 merchantmen.
Did you ever have to use your ammunition?
Oh, yeah.
Like when and why?
When we left San Francisco, we thought we saw a ship, we'd start shooting. Then in Guam, we had something floating on the water. We shot hell out of it. But Tinian didn't give me a chance. That was a chance that it happened so quick.
Yeah, oh, for sure. But did anybody get killed in that situation?
They must have all disappeared aboard the boat.
The one that you were on that you got knocked out?
See, there were 2 crew members.
And so they never were found?
I don't know.
Wow.
I never heard.
Yeah, Leo, wow.
They weren't assigned to the ship I was on anyway. So.
I see, yeah, wow. How long did it take you to recover from that?
Oh, I don't know.
Did it ever have any long-lasting effects, do you think?
I know they put me in a straitjacket.
Huh.
Because I was out of my mind.
Yeah.
Like I was always out of my mind.
Well, I don't see that. Oh, gosh. Leo, do you mind, if it's too personal, you do not have to talk about it, but what is meant by putting you in a straitjacket? What would they do?
They put you, bind you up so you can't move.
Oh. How long was that?
Oh, till we got back to the ship and they took me out. Like I was crazy.
Oh, my goodness gracious. Did you continue on that ship then? You kind of got straightened out? Yeah. Oh my goodness, what a horrible experience. Well, anyway, so are there other things that you recall in going? We're going to go over to the Atlantic next.
That was the end of until we...
That was it, Then you got orders to go over to the Atlantic?
Then we went to Cape Town, South Africa.
Now, why did you leave the Pacific?
We were empty. We unloaded.
Okay.
We went to from Tinian. We went to along the African coast. No, that was afterwards. Well, anyway, we went to South America. We went to Cape Town, and while we were in Cape Town, we loaded up with Industrial diamond.
What is that?
Industrial diamond is not real diamond. It's what they put on the diamond drills, the diamond saw blades, so they don't dull.
Got it. And you were loading those?
We loaded some up, there was just a few because they didn't have very much of it anyway. And then we went to Chile, South America, where we loaded up with copper, and then back to New York.
This was all being used for the war effort?
Yeah,
It was used, yeah.
we loaded up with copper, went into New York, unloaded, and reloaded, and that's when we went to Russia.
Okay, just
We went to
uh-huh.
up
Go
the
ahead.
Persian Gulf to lend lease to Russia.
To lend lease, what are you saying? Lend
That-
lease?
Yeah,
Lend lease.
lend lease to Russia, like war supplies. That
Lend-
Russia didn't have, so
Oh, I see what you're saying, lend
like
lease.
ammunition
I
and
understand, yeah. Okay, where did you go into New York?
what?
Where in New York? Brooklyn?
New York,
Brooklyn?
yeah.
Uh-huh. Did you stay in any one place very long?
No, we loaded up and,
You keep going all
Yeah.
the time. Did you ever get seasick?
oh yeah, for a little bit, but not much.
Got used to it, yeah. Were you enjoying your assignment?
Were you enjoying it too? Were you gonna shoot you down?
I deserved that. I deserved it. Okay.
I was
Moving
young,
on.
I was scared all the time.
Well, of course you would be.
Yeah,
Of course, and and good for you for admitting it.
yeah.
That's the only human. Did you think you were going to come home?
What?
Did you think you were going to come home?
I never give it a thought,
Uh-huh.
because when you get overseas, how am I gonna get back home after sailing 10 days in water,
Yeah.
getting over there, never gonna get home.
Yeah, sure. And I can't imagine being out there that long, like you floated out to the end of the earth. There's no
Yeah.
more land. Water everywhere. So we're going to get over to Russia, but so far, can you describe, you had to see beautiful sunrises, sunsets, different countries.
Yeah, I don't remember.
Did any of
Just seen
you?
the sunsets, yeah.
They had to
That's
be,
when we had general quarters. In the evening, you had to be up on our guns,
oh, in the evening.
yeah, watching for submarines.
Yeah. Wouldn't that be creepy at night when it's
But
dark out?
usually you're tired, you went to sleep.
Not on duty. Okay. But how about looking into the night sky? It had to be brilliant.
Yeah, in those days, I thought the stars were bigger at sea than that.
Yeah.
But the guy says the stars weren't any bigger, the eyes were better.
So, Leo, is it true when you cross over what is that, the line,
Yeah.
the sink?
Equator,
Yeah,
I crossed the equator twice, four times.
4 times. Does the water in the sink actually go the other way, or is that just,
What? No, no.
that's just rumor?
The one thing that does change in the southern half of the universe and northern, when you flush the toilet or flush water,
Yeah.
it goes down in a circle on this side, and on the other side it goes the opposite.
That's true.
Yeah,
That is true.
yeah.
Okay, I thought that was just an old tale.
Oh,
Uh-huh. Oh, that's interesting. Did you get to Australia?
yeah, I got to Australia for a short time.
You know, the Aussie women love the American men.
Yeah, I know. I know that you should get the hell scared out of you too.
Wait, would you like to explain what you mean by that?
Well, we landed in Perth, Australia, and I went uptown Perth. Of course, you know, you pick up a lady, and across from the ship, there was a park.
Uh-huh.
Australia had built a nice park, benches and places to sit.
Uh-huh.
We were set there most of the night, talk, set. Morning came. In the morning, a crew of men come around with hooks, walking around the park, picking up snakes.
Ooh.
What they did in that park, they dug a trench all the way around the park, and the snakes would come in and they'd fall into the trench and couldn't get out. So I guess you know I never went back to that park.
You know, Leo, these stories are just almost unbelievable. Oh my goodness. So you never got off ship in Perth again?
No, no, we left right after that.
Yeah, right. Okay. Okay, now let's go to the East Coast. So out of New York, you went to Russia.
Yeah, we sailed in Convoy out of New York. First convoy we ever in. We were on a 33-ship convoy.
Wow.
And lo and behold, we had the last ship in line, and they call that Coffin Corner.
What does that mean?
Coffin Corner means that's where the submarines usually hit you. Because the reason we were put in Coffin Corner, we were a detonator. We carried a red flag with full ammunition. See, but if we exploded, we wouldn't hurt any other ship.
I see.
But we made it all the way.
But were you the last ship?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
In Convoy.
What did that look like? Were you all kind of in a row?
Yeah.
In a row.
And we went to for the Caribbean Sea. The Strait of Gibraltar is narrow, so we couldn't all go through there. So we had to go through Strait of Gibraltar in single file.
What a sight.
And we broke up and went into the Mediterranean.
Wow. That, I would think, now what year would this have been? What year would this have been?
This is when Germany was attacking Russia. That was in the latter part of German
44?
the war, yeah. Getting close to the latter part. War wasn't over yet.
Yeah. Leo, I would have been a little shook up about that. Going
Anyway,
into,
we went through the Mediterranean Sea.
Yeah.
We went through the Suez Canal.
Yeah.
Went up Persian Gulf, up the Iraq, way up to the top, and loaded supplies to Russia. Russia had a train come down from Russia to the
Was it the Black
Persian
Sea?
Gulf,
Persian.
and we loaded the train with supplies, and they hauled it.
Wow. What were you, do you remember what you were unloading?
We were unloading ammunition and a lot of iron rails. I don't know why, but
Yeah, for the trains?
yeah. And we unloaded the steam engine needed for their train, and it was the wrong size steam engine. Because in Russia they had a narrow gauge track, and America had wide gauge track, so it didn't fit.
So did you have to bring it back?
No, they put it aside, and soldiers made a light plant out of it.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. You could load stuff like that on a ship?
Yeah.
Wow. How?
We had airplane on the ship for Russia and steam engineers, something else, a lot of other heavy equipment, but I forget.
I mean, you were really, this is a very unique story. You were the nuts and the bolts of the war.
What?
You were the nuts and bolts of the war.
Yeah, but we were not in action really. We were always outside,
Yeah.
far enough away so we didn't see nothing. We hauled the supplies to the war.
But you didn't know.
No.
You didn't know.
No.
I would say going up through the Suez Canal into the Persian
Yeah.
could have been pretty tricky.
Yeah. When we left, it was unusual for me because when we left the United States, they knew we were going through the sea.
Yeah.
They put barrage balloons aboard ship.
A what?
Barrage balloon.
Barrage
Big
balloons.
balloon and an air tank. We had the balloon laying on deck, and we entered that sea. They raised that balloon in the air so the Germans couldn't fly on
attacks.
us.
Oh, you know, the stuff you figure out in war.
That was one of the things in war.
Did you ever see any Russians when you were unloading?
Yeah, we seen Russian women from coming in on the train.
Were they working,
They
helping?
were working just like men.
Wow, hard.
I've seen some men, but
Yeah, wow. The women were doing the work
yeah,
because they were probably in short supply for men.
yeah.
Oh, what? Do you have any memories of that journey up through the Suez? Does something stick out? in your mind?
Going through, when we were going through the Suez, along the Suez there's gun emplacements ever so often. And they're mostly manned by British gunners to keep the aircraft off.
Yeah.
There was one ship sunk in the Suez Canal.
Uh-huh.
But the thing is, the Suez Canal was only one-way traffic
Yeah.
because the ships couldn't pass each other.
It was that narrow.
Yeah,
Let's.
yeah. And on the way through, you know, these gun emplacements, the Englishmen were always yelling at us. They wanted something to burn because they had to make tea. There's nothing to burn but sand out there. So we took some of the lumber that was on the crates and tore the crates apart and threw it overboard. The crates were from Russia, but we took apart and threw it overboard for the.
So they could have their tea.
Yeah. Boy, we threw it in the water and they're more than happy to swim out and get it.
Leo, I've never heard stories like this.
That's what happened during the war.
Okay, so again, there were still 33 ships going through that Suez.
Well, it didn't go through the Suez, not all of them, because some went in through the Strait of Gibraltar and stopped at Sicily. They're getting ready for the Sicily invasion.
Oh, yes.
In the beginning of the war.
Now, were you communicating with any of your brothers at all at this time? Did you know where they were?
No, my brother was on. I didn't get to see him because he left before I got there.
Mhm.
He was a mechanic in the Seabees on.
In Europe?
No, he was on an island, and I forgot what island.
In the South Pacific?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Anyway, I got there and he was already gone.
Okay. But your other brothers that were in Europe, the time difference.
Yeah, they were already. They were after I went through. My brother got wounded before I got even close, and my other brother was wounded, but he got discharged too.
Did you know all this when you were out at sea?
No.
You did not know it until you got home?
Yeah.
Yeah, wow. Okay, so you went clear up and unloaded toward Russia in the Persian Gulf, and then just basically turned around and how did they figure out all of these logistics of who needed what?
I don't know.
That's amazing. Yeah.
But we all landed. Instead of going, we were headed for the White Sea up at Onega in Russia, up there where
What? Are you saying White Sea?
in the North Sea,
Okay.
where all the ice and snow was. They says when you went up there, Americans send ships up there, and they'd give it to Onega, but they'd never bring the ship back. They'd leave the ship back and come back. They'd come through Sweden and Norway.
Okay, I want to make sure I
Because it
understand.
wouldn't be worth bringing it back.
I want to make sure I understand because it was just too damaged to try and bring it.
No,
or why?
because of the ice and the possibility of getting sunk anyway, because the Germans were pretty furious on that.
So, okay, I want to understand this. So the ships would get up only so far, hit ice, and then the men would be taken off. Why would they even go up there?
Instead to haul land lease to Russia.
Oh, some more stuff to Russia.
Yeah, it went around
Got
Russia.
it. Was it successful? Did they get it to Russia?
Yeah, they got to Russia.
They did, but just let the ships go.
But they left the ship there
My
and
gosh.
sneaked
Yeah.
back. But we were going to do the same thing, but on the way, they sent us through the canal
Through the Suez.
to another way to Russia.
Oh, gotcha. Right. I understand. So, Leo, you started in Little Osage, Minnesota, and you saw the world
Yeah,
everywhere. Okay, what nations were we helping? Russia?
I was,
England? With supplies.
yeah, we didn't get to England.
Okay,
We were heading for England, but they changed it around to
Russia?
Mediterranean Sea.
Okay.
Yeah,
Uh-huh. So, who and all were we supplying? Russia?
we went to and put Turkey,
Turkey?
Italy, and Vichy, France,
You know?
and other France, and Egypt, and we the ship docked at Port Said. That was in Egypt,
Egypt.
waiting for the Suez, our turn to go through the
Go
Suez.
through. How long did you wait there?
Oh, we
Very
laid,
long?
Yeah, we laid it there an overnight deal.
But you always stayed on ship no matter
Yeah,
where you were?
yeah.
Because you really were still in the... By the way, were you getting any war reports on board ship, what was going on everywhere else?
Yeah,
Did you hear all the news?
yeah. Well, I heard the news come back, but
Yeah. So, what was your last trip in the Atlantic? Where were you?
my last trip in the service,
Well, yeah, in the
that was
Atlantic.
after the war, though.
Okay, but during the war, where did you end up during the war?
I ended up in New York,
Okay.
and then we were sent back to San Francisco.
Okay. Did you spend very much time in the Atlantic?
We sent,
How much time?
we went over, yeah. We
Like-
had one trip in the Atlantic. It must have been a good 8 months, 10 months.
8 months. That was toward the end of the war.
No, that was during the war.
I'm sorry, you said
would-
about 44?
Yeah.
Okay.
At the end of the war, I went to Guam.
You went back to Guam?
Yeah, at the end of the war, yeah.
Why did you go back to Guam?
I was armed guard, so they put me in shore patrol. They thought armed guard was
Did you ever keep track of how many miles you sailed?
oh man,
I couldn't even. You went around the world.
not quite. I went from Calcutta, India to Perth. I never went that in the area, but I guess I did because if you go through, leave there and go to South America and go across, you went around the world.
Yeah, yeah. Did you stop in any of those? Did you ever get to get off and actually see these countries, except the snakes in Perth?
Oh, I got off in Persia, and
Did you?
yeah,
How long did you get to stay there?
we got there until the ship was unloaded, at least 30 days.
In what now is Iran,
Persia and Iran.
which is now
Iraq, Iran.
Yeah. What did you see there?
I seen how the people live, and they don't live any better today because
Yeah.
I lived with a guy that was in Persia, Iraq war,
Uh-huh.
and he explained to me the same things I saw.
Not much progress.
No, not much progress.
Poverty, sand. Poverty and sand. Yeah.
He says people live in those sand and mud huts yet,
Yeah.
and they still cook their meal out on a hot rock.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's what you saw.
Yeah.
You're right. Not much has changed. Did you stay on the ship or did you go on land for 30 days?
No, I stayed aboard ship.
But you could come off and on.
And every time we come aboard ship to unload the ship, I went on land.
Yeah. Did you go very far?
No, I went uptown away from the ship because
Yeah.
I figured the way they were unloading it, it'd blow up. You know
What do you
those,
mean by that?
you know those Iranians and Iraqians. I mean,
Persians?
Iraq. Yeah, they were coolies. They were the people that were assigned to unload the ship,
Okay.
and they had to watch them like a hawk. When they unloaded the ammunition, they'd go right straight down in the hole, unloaded the black powder. Then they'd drop the cargo net down to the bottom of the hole, and then they'd get behind a long pile of black powder and push it over into the net.
Oh my gosh. Oh my God. They didn't know what they were doing.
No, you got that right. They didn't know what they. I didn't know what they were doing either.
Well, Leo, why were you in Persia unloading? For who?
Well, we were in Iraq unloading.
Yeah.
That was Lend-Lease to Russia.
Oh, Russia was there getting the supplies in Iran?
Yeah, we were way up in the end of Persian Gulf.
Right.
We'd unload the stuff on a Russian train
I see.
going across Russia.
I understand. Okay, but it was still Persian territory,
Yeah,
and the Russians would come in.
yeah.
I understand. What an interesting story.
Yeah.
What did they do with the black powder?
I don't know what they did with it because they called it to Russia.
Yeah. Where did it come from?
It come from New York, from someplace.
Wow, that's fascinating. Wow. Well, you saw war so up close and personal. Like I say, the nuts and the bolts of it, you saw it.
Yeah.
What was the weather like? Did you ever run into some really horrible
Oh, yeah.
typhoons, bad
Yeah.
storms?
Yeah, we ran into high seas.
High seas? How high? How high?
Had 50-foot waves.
Ooh, where?
Yeah.
Was that mostly in the Atlantic or the Pacific?
That was in Atlantic. That was off of
North Sea?
Coast America. Trying to think of it. You get those storms along there anyway.
Up in the North Sea area?
Yeah.
Yeah. So did you ever have any ship damage?
Oh yeah, we had several ship damage.
Where you'd have to get it repaired,
Yeah.
stop for repairs?
Yeah.
Did you ever keep changing ships or?
When I was in Hoboken, New Jersey, I got off the ship because we went in dry dock.
Uh-huh,
And we stayed uptown in Flushing, New York.
uh-huh. Flushing, uh-huh.
They didn't have no place for us to stay in Navy bases.
Uh-huh.
So the crew stayed in a place above a Chinese laundry. It's Flushing Overflow, they call it.
The what?
The Flushing Overflow.
Oh, Leo, your memory is.
But it wasn't too bad. Across from the Chinese laundry was a bar, and, you know. That was our favorite stop.
Oh, shock. That really shocks me. Hey, did you have any booze on ship?
What?
Any booze on ship?
No, not too much, but the skipper did. I was drunk all the time. I was,
Wait a minute, on
I
ship?
was an born alcoholic after I got in the Navy.
Wait a minute, Leo. You were drinking on ship?
Yeah, because the skipper had all the booze you could get, and nobody would drink with him, but I did.
So let's see. Well, all things considered, you remember quite a bit in spite of being drunk.
Yeah. That was when the last day I got mad because the skipper told me, he says, a person that gets mad at another person is just mad at himself.
Yeah, well, it's a lot
It's your own mistake.
Yeah.
You think about it.
Yeah.
If you didn't make that mistake in the first place, you wouldn't have got mad.
There's a lot of truth to that.
Yeah.
There really is. So, Leo, what I'm hearing is you had your share of nip in the bud then during the service.
Oh man,
Yeah. Well, probably one thing, it calmed your nerves.
yeah.
Well, so you spent a little time in dry dock and got back on board. Then did you go back out into the Atlantic?
Yeah,
Okay. How much? You said about 8 months in the Atlantic.
yeah.
And then is that getting? Okay. Are we around 1945 at about this time now?
No, it was after before that because there was still a big war going on in Germany. That was when Germany was fighting Russia.
Right.
When the big war was.
Sure. Horrible, horrible loss of life.
That's when they had Lend-Lease.
Yes, exactly. Okay, so you come back to New York, then do you go back to the Pacific?
Let's see where I went after. I went back to Pacific.
And what was your assignment? More of the same sorts of things? Was that about 45 then?
Yeah.
About 1945?
Yeah.
Okay, so that was in August is when the atomic bomb was dropped. So you were in that area when that happened?
That's when I wound up in Tinian.
Yes.
Afterwards.
Yes. Were you prepared to go into Japan before the atomic bomb?
No.
Okay.
No, the last time we were out in that Pickaduty, and of course picking up Wainwright. But I didn't know much about it because I was in the back of the list. I didn't see much.
Yeah, exactly.
But he had to have guards.
And you were the guards?
Well, one of about 300 of us.
Yeah, oh, I bet. Boy. I think he was the highest ranking officer in the POW camp.
The one thing I liked about him, MacArthur didn't like him.
Why?
I don't know, because he was such a... I don't know why. Because when they were giving Wainwright the Medal of Honor, MacArthur refused it.
Really?
And then when Truman got to be president, he didn't care for MacArthur, and Wainwright got the Medal of Honor because Truman made damn sure he did.
I didn't know that story.
I know that for fact because I was with him when they gave it to him because Truman was president then. Because Roosevelt died.
And where were you when the Medal of Honor was given to him?
Yeah, aboard the ship when they come aboard.
You were there?
Yeah.
When they gave him the Medal of Honor?
Yeah. No, I didn't.
Yeah.
But he had the Medal of Honor, but wasn't offered to him. But Truman called him, told him he's a winner of the Medal of Honor.
My goodness, what stories. Okay, Leo. So we're kind of winding down toward the end of the war. You're back in the Pacific. It's about 1945.
Yeah.
And were you doing the same types of things, just guarding, unloading ships, still unloading supplies?
Yeah.
All over this Pacific?
Yeah.
Okay. And what's the longest that you were out at sea?
We were out at sea 9 months. We went from New York, I don't know where we were, Tinian, I guess.
Yeah. So you went around the southern tip of South America to the Pacific.
I went to, I didn't catch a ship in New York. I caught it in Hawaii twice. Because I caught another ship and they took me to Hawaii, put me aboard when I got there.
Yeah, I see. Okay. Okay, Leo. So now let's see, we're into 1946 now. And where were you when it was time for you to go home?
I was at, when I come back from Guam, I was in Yerba Buena.
Where?
Rhode Island.
Rhode Island?
Or Yerba Buena. You know where Yerba Buena is? Or Goat Island?
Wait, I'm not getting this.
A lot of people don't know where Yerba Buena is. You know where...
Yerba Buena? Yerba Buena?
Yeah, Yerba Buena Island. That's an island in between San Francisco and Oakland, where the Oakland Bay Bridge is. That's Goat Island or Yerba Buena.
I know where it is. I thought it was somewhere in Africa.
No.
Oh, Leo. Yes, I know exactly where it is. Okay, so you landed there.
Yeah, I discharged there.
Then what? Then what happened?
Then I went home.
To Everett. How did you get home, Leo?
No, I didn't go to Everett. I went to Minnesota.
How did you get there?
Hitchhike.
All the way to Minnesota?
Yeah. I was greedy. They gave me money to buy a ticket, and I didn't want to spend the money.
Well, what time of the year was it?
Oh,
Spring, summer?
in October.
Well, not the weather, not too bad.
Yeah,
How long did it take you to get there hitchhiking?
3 days.
Darn good.
Well, I got one guy picked me up, and he was going to Chicago, so
All right.
I lived up in northern Minnesota, and that's about 1,000 miles from where he lived in Chicago. So he took me home.
All the way home?
Yeah,
Were you in uniform hitchhiking?
yeah.
There you go.
I had a ruptured duck on my
A who? Ruptured
duck.
duck. What does that mean?
Did you never hear the ruptured duck?
No.
In the early days when you got discharged,
Yeah.
they give you a little plaque with a duck on it, it is orange
Yeah.
and it had an eagle on it.
Okay.
And they showed it on your uniform, so when you went uptown in San Francisco, you didn't get picked up by the shore patrol for being there when you're not supposed to be. See, you seen that ruptured duck, then you're discharged. That's the early days, that's what they did.
What's the significance of a ruptured duck?
That was a deal so the shore patrol wouldn't
Yeah.
arrest you.
But
That'd show you were discharged. That's unheard of today, but that's,
I'm just,
I'd like to get a hold of those little plaques.
No kidding.
Yeah, they very many of them.
Yeah. Well, they were like gold.
Yeah, they were orange and they had a picture of eagle on it.
Okay.
And they showed it on your uniform.
Do you know the story of why it was a duck? Why
No,
it,
it wasn't a duck.
Oh.
It was named that with the sailors because it looked like a duck. They call it the ruptured duck.
So you were scot-free, untouchable.
Yeah,
Untouchable. Okay. So everybody knew what that meant on a uniform.
yeah, you meant you were discharged from,
Okay, so when you were picked up hitchhiking, everybody would understand it.
yeah.
Okay, so boy, he took you 1,000 miles
See,
out of the
those
way.
things you don't know.
I had never heard of it.
But I'd like to get one of those ruptured ducks. I looked for them, but they're not around. I suppose people who have old World War uniforms,
Yeah.
they still got that sewed on there.
I
I know my brother had
Uh-huh.
one on his uniform,
Uh-huh.
but he passed away, but his uniform is still home
It's still at home.
with a ruptured duck on it.
Yeah. Well, Leo, when you did anybody know you were coming home?
So,
What did you do? Just walk through the front door?
no, I went up north. I didn't get home where the parents were living in Bryant, Washington. But I went back home to the old school
Oh, home.
and my school kids and all that. Went back to the old farm.
Oh, yeah, homesick for the good. What was that like? Do you remember Leo driving across country, being out of the service? Was it kind of surreal?
Oh yeah, we stopped at every bar across the country.
Yeah. Were you still kind of rocking from the ship?
No, that's just a hearsay. You don't wobble like that.
Did you keep your uniform on in these bars?
Yeah.
Did you ever have to buy a drink?
No.
Yep, I bet.
No, those bars, they see that, they buy you a beer.
I bet they would.
And we got to call them beer chips. That's my beer chip.
Earned it.
Huh?
You earned it.
Yeah, well,
You bet you did. So you finally get to your hometown. What's the name of it again?
Bodette,
Huh?
Minnesota.
Bodette. Could you spell it? B-O-D?
B-A-U-D-E-T-T-E.
B-O-D-E-T-T-E?
Yeah.
Bodette. Sounds French.
Yeah, it is.
Okay. How long did you stay there?
Oh, I don't remember.
Then you came west.
Then I went west and got a job.
Yeah. Did your parents know you were in Minnesota?
Yeah.
Okay. Did you have any family there in Minnesota?
Oh, yeah.
A lot of family.
I had my brothers there yet.
Oh, they were there. Okay.
A few of them.
Yeah. Okay. Were they the ones that had come home from the war?
Yeah.
What a reunion.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. How were they doing when they got home?
They were doing all right.
Okay, so now now you have kids.
Yeah.
Now, so we gotta get to the story. You met a woman somewhere and got
I
married.
met her in International Falls, Minnesota.
International Falls?
Yeah.
Was it an old girlfriend?
No. Here's one I met in service.
In the service?
Yeah. In the CC camp, to be exact.
Oh, okay. You belong to CC camp?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So you went back, you knew she was there.
Yeah.
So you went back, did you write to her during the war?
What?
Did you?
Yeah.
Oh,
I think I don't remember.
Yeah. Well, you stayed in touch.
Yeah.
So she was waiting for you, maybe. All right. So did you ask her to marry you?
Yeah. We got married. We got divorced.
Yeah.
I got drunk all the time. I couldn't keep up with everything.
Yeah. How long did you stay married, Leo?
About 25 years.
Well, that's pretty good.
Because I had 2 girls.
Uh-huh. And that's when you went out west?
Yeah.
Uh-huh. And is your former wife still alive?
Yeah.
She's still, where is she?
She's 89 years old, too.
My good, where is she?
She's in Everett.
Do you ever keep in touch with her?
Oh, yeah, I call her now and then.
Uh-huh.
She can't hear too well, so my daughter takes care of her.
Okay.
My oldest daughter, she's 65. So.
And could you name your daughters?
What?
What are your daughters' names?
My oldest one is Janet.
Janet?
Janet Renee.
Okay.
And my youngest one is Leanne, named after me.
Leanne.
My name is Leo Russell Becker. Her name is Leanne Russell Becker.
I love it. That's great. And she lives in the Everett area also?
She lives in Lake Stevens.
Lake Stevens. Okay, so you found a job after the service.
Yeah.
What did you do?
I worked in Sawmill and in the woods.
Was that kind of like your dad did?
What?
Like your father?
Yeah.
How long did you do that?
About 21 years.
Hard job, Leo. Very hard job. Did you miss the service?
Oh, at first I did.
Uh-huh.
I missed the people around me.
Right. Did you ever join any service clubs?
Oh, yeah.
What? Uh-huh.
The Vets Club, of course.
Veterans, yeah. Uh-huh.
That's where you get your drinks.
Yeah. So did you, if it's not too personal of a question, then did you get sober then at some point?
What?
Did you get sober at some point?
Oh, yeah, I sobered 20 years in Minnesota.
Uh-huh. Yeah, good.
Yeah, that's when I got sobered up a little bit and
Uh-huh.
going to AA, and it didn't help.
Yeah.
And one guy says, "Why don't you leave Everett and get away from your friends? That's what's wrong.
Yeah.
You got too many friends in town."
Yeah.
So I went back to Minnesota. I stayed sober 20 years.
Very good advice.
And then my brother and sister died together, and that did it again.
Yeah. Yeah. Did you come back again then after
Yeah,
that?
I was drunk on or off, but not continually.
Yeah.
Sober for a year or two, and then get drunk and sober.
That's hard. Very hard. Yeah.
And there's last time I got allergic to alcohol.
Yeah. That did it then, huh?
Yeah, that's when I went out here.
But you know what, Leo? For the drinking that you're telling me about, it really, something preserved you because you're 91, 92?
Yeah.
92? And your memory is amazing. So it didn't affect you too much.
Yeah.
Maybe along the way relationships.
Yeah, memories all right, but war memories is it.
Yeah.
Don't remember too much.
Not too much, yeah. But from what you've shared with us today, it's
They asked me on this PST suffering. They asked me about certain things I don't remember.
Yeah. Well, that's
like that Tinian accident, I don't remember.
Sure. Understood, though.
And then sometimes I can hear them talking, and then who's talking, because I don't know.
Yeah.
And somebody said there's the people aboard the boat I was on. I don't.
Sure, understood. Boy, that stayed with
But
you.
I wasn't even signed as a boat. I just took it up as a volunteer
Volunteer.
because I knew I was going to come back to that.
Sure. That's the risks of being in war.
That's the worst thing to do is volunteer. I didn't volunteer for anything else.
That cured you. Well, anyway, Leo, so you came to, and you've been in Walla Walla for about 8 months now?
Yeah, I was in Yakima before that.
Okay.
Yakima's a bad town.
Yeah, and you're going to stay here now?
I'm going to stay here as long as I can.
Yeah, okay.
Then I plan on saving enough money. I got quite a bit saved up, not a lot.
Uh-huh.
I want enough to last me a while.
Uh-huh.
And I want to go back home
Sure.
to Brit. I got a family cemetery lot there.
I see.
My dad and mothers and brothers are buried there, not all of them, but
You want to visit the cemetery?
I want to visit the cemetery,
Sure.
build it back up, and
Sure.
clean it up, get
Sure.
ready for me.
Well, we're all
See,
heading.
92, I got much longer.
Well, you know,
That's what I want to do.
that's
That's
a
the only
great
thing I got in my mind.
that's a great story. That's a wonderful goal, Leo.
Yeah, they tell me, why don't you stay here and if you die here, they'll ship me back there. But that ain't like going back there and seeing it for
You
yourself.
want to see it.
Yeah.
Understood.
I
Would you
know I
have-
want to clean it up. I know it needs cleaning because
Sure. That's a very noble goal.
just because the cemetery has been there since I was born.
My goodness. And Leo, what an amazing family story you have.
Yeah.
Your legacy is incredible.
And my granddaughters, I'm very proud of them. They're both working and both got very, very good jobs.
Now, would you name them? Name their names?
Michelle,
All right.
she worked Boeing's and she got the top Boeing
Honor.
computer job.
Wonderful.
Just there, a woman that retired up there, she was the top Boeing computer job operator. And Michelle, she just got out of college. She had 2 years experience. She went up there and took the test and they gave her the job
Fabulous.
above everybody else. Then the union said you can't put a guy with no seniority in there. And Boeing says, well, you put a guy that knows what she knows, we'll hire her. She says, well, you got to train him.
Yeah.
Boeing says, you train him. So she was there 60 days, nobody came, so she got the job.
That's fabulous story. You can be very proud of
Yeah.
of your family. So you've left a wonderful, wonderful legacy.
And the youngest one, she's working for the county.
Oh, three granddaughters.
Huh?
3 granddaughters?
2.
Oh, 2. Okay.
That was Michelle.
Yeah, got it. Uh-huh.
And Heather, she works for the county.
Heather. Okay. Very good. Well, it would seem natural for you to want to go over to the west, but you have a goal to go back to your hometown.
Yeah.
Yeah, I understand that. Well, that's, gosh, what a great story. If, in looking back, Leo, would you do the same thing over again? Or anything any differently?
No, I joined the Navy. I wouldn't go like the Army was crawling on their hands and knees. They seen movies.
Have you watched any movies since you...
Not too many of them.
Yeah.
Not war movies.
Not too
Oh,
many?
yeah.
Yeah. Vic, do you have any questions? Yeah. You know I'm going to walk out of here, and there's going to be more questions. I'm sorry
But like
I didn't
I-
ask you, but
But my first reason I came here,
yeah.
find out if we're the only 3 brothers still around.
And I promise you, I'm going to find that out, Leo.
It's hard to get a hold of my one brother.
Yeah.
He got a phone, but I can't get him on a phone. He don't answer it.
He doesn't answer.
But
Does he have family? Can your daughters or granddaughters get a hold of him?
no,
No?
they don't drive out there.
Uh-huh.
But he lives with my other brother in Granite Falls.
Oh, they live together
Yeah.
in Granite
Oh,
Falls.
yeah. They got a place there, and
Tell me their first names again.
Jim Becker,
Jim and
Earl.
Earl Becker.
Earl lives in Marysville. I can get a hold of him anytime.
But the Jim is the one you can't get a hold of.
No, I got his telephone, but I call.
Uh-huh.
I don't never hear an answer.
Okay, but Jim, I thought you said they lived together.
Jim and Dwayne,
Oh,
my
Dwayne.
other brother, younger brother.
Live together.
Yeah,
Jim and Dwayne live together.
they don't live in the same house, but
Yeah.
they got 2 houses on the lot.
Okay, and that's Granite Falls.
Yeah,
Okay. Okay, I guess, well, anyway, I'm going to talk to you some more after he cuts the tape off, but I want to thank you, Leo, for being
Yeah.
here today
I want to give you
very much.
their phone numbers.
Yes, I will do that. Thank you, Leo, for your time, and
Until-
thank you for your service.